morning, everybody. I must say it's very nice to be here. It's a very welcoming place, the Philippines. I'm learning very quickly. And as this is my first visit, I have to say at the beginning that I don't know a lot about the Philippines. I've been eagerly learning, and as I say, I'm very happy to be here. But I've been invited as a philosopher to talk about this question, what is subsidiarity? You'll find that today there are 3 presentations, and they will each happen in very different ways. But mine is the presentation of a philosopher, and I will use a written text. Should you find my accent a little bit difficult, or difficult just keeping track of it, there is a copy of the paper in your envelopes. So if that's a help, use it. If it's not a help, don't use it. So my topic is subsidiarity. And what I hope for is that at the end of this paper, you will all have a better understanding of what the term means and some sense of a direction that you might take in applying it. I'll do 4 things. Firstly, I will look at how the term is understood in Catholic social teaching. Secondly, I will survey how it appears in broader discussions today. Thirdly, I will examine some of its philosophical roots. And fourthly, I will suggest an Aristotelian framework that will help you with its application. So let me begin with my first topic, Catholic social teaching. The principle of subsidiarity came to international attention when it was named and stated by Pope Pius XI in his social encyclical Quadragesimo Anno in 1931 in the following way, and I'll quote, "It is a fundamental principle of social philosophy, fixed and unchangeable, that one should not withdraw from individuals and commit to the community what they can accomplish by their own enterprise and industry. So too, it is an injustice and at the same time a grave evil and a disturbance to right order to transfer to the larger and higher collectivity functions which can be performed and provided for by lesser and subordinate bodies. Inasmuch as every social activity should by its very nature prove a help to members of the body social, it should never destroy or absorb them." The principle has been reconfirmed by successive popes and has become a central principle of Catholic social theory. Although the principle of subsidiarity has clear roots in earlier social and political theory, its explicit statement grew out of particular historical conditions. The Church's response to the laissez-faire economic policies of the 19th century had been to support the right and responsibility of government to intervene in the economic and social affairs of its citizens. The purpose of this had been and remains to ensure the protection of the dignity and rights of individual persons. At the same time, by 1931, it was recognised that the state itself was capable of concentrating and controlling not only political but also social and economic power. The principle of subsidiarity recognises both that the good of the individual person is primary in all discussion of social and political organisation, and that persons can live only in communities, which therefore have their own specific goods and exercise powers in their own right. Pius XI applied it both to the relationship between individuals and the community and to the relationship between higher and lower organisations in a more complexly structured society. In summary, the principle states that a government should intervene in the affairs of citizens when help is necessary for the individual and common good, but insists that all functions that can be done by individuals or by lower level organisations be left to them. The principle therefore has a positive dimension, help to be given, and a negative dimension, restriction on intervention. Pius XI applied the principle of subsidiarity specifically to involvement of governments in economic activity. Subsequent popes have applied it both in this way and more broadly. Pope John the 23rd in Mater et Magistra applied it to economic activity and also to state ownership of property. In Pacem in Terris, he applied it to the relationship between organisations of worldwide public activity and national governments. Pope Paul VI applied the principle to problems of undeveloped countries. Finally, Pope John Paul II applied subsidiarity to both economic activity and to the problems of the welfare state. Let me move to my second topic, subsidiarity in the broader community. The word subsidiarity, while remaining important in Catholic discussions of social justice, has been accepted only slowly by the broader community. In fact, the word is found in the English Oxford Dictionary first in its 1989 edition, where it is defined as the principle that a central authority should have a subsidiary function, performing only those tasks which cannot be performed at a more intermediate or local level. The dictionary attributes its first use to Pius XI in the text quoted above. More recently, it has been used in public discussions about the relationship between the European community and its member governments. There are reasons that the term has not been accepted. The word itself is awkward in English. Subsidiary is generally used of something that is less important but that contributes to whatever is primary. A subsidiary stream is a tributary that feeds the main stream. Subsidiary troops are hired to assist the main force. The principle of subsidiarity, on the other hand, uses the word to mean that the higher body has a subsidiary or helping function in relation to the lower, and that it has only this function. Another reason seems to be that discussions of the principle are normally had in the language of scholastic social philosophy and natural law theory, which have not translated well into contexts outside the Church. The principle itself, at least in a broad sense, and by names such as decentralisation and people orientation, has however become well known, particularly in the business world. Peters and Waterman, in their In Search of Excellence, for instance, have a chapter called Productivity Through People, and they state the following: there is hardly a more pervasive theme in the excellent companies than respect for the individual. What makes it live at these companies is a plethora of structural devices, systems, styles and values, all reinforcing one another so that the companies are truly unusual in their ability to achieve extraordinary results through ordinary people. These companies give ordinary people control over their destinies. They make meaning for people. The authors distinguish carefully between sham respect for the individual, which relies on gimmicks, and real respect, which implies allowing people to perform as intelligent agents, and this implies sensitivity to subsidiarity. What is interesting in this case is that they came to the principle empirically by examining the most successful companies. Today, the principle of subsidiarity has also become of interest to governments, albeit under titles like devolvement or reprivatisation, because of the recognition that governments cannot effectively run either mass business enterprises or universal welfare agencies. Government activity in these areas becomes lost in the paperwork of bureaucracies. Government is also forced by political considerations to continue engagement in costly yet ineffective enterprises. Peter Drucker, a management consultant, defined a role for government within the terms of the principle of subsidiarity, and I quote, "We need government as